For a while, and we are live.
Small
And let's
chat.
just wait. Yeah. Okay. Life is working.
Okay.
Everything is. Yeah. Seems good. We have about 20 seconds more to go. Just tunggu sekejap and ajak kawan.
Yeah.
Ajak kawan come and so on.
Biasa tu. No, the other day I got confused whether whether I was sharing or whether I was doing a watch party. And then apparently I was doing a watch party, was also having a live, and then I got mixed up with which comment I'm actually watching. People were commenting on the other live. I was at the watch party live, or maybe the vice versa. So that got a bit confusing on Facebook.
I know it's horrible. Because the watch party is actually a different stream actually. So watch party comes
Yeah.
out fairly different from the other stuff, and then
Right.
the the comments go in there. But yeah, I think we can go live, and so I'm broadcasting this into two things basically. One is on
Hmm.
our Facebook group. The other one we are doing it on my that I'm setting up a YouTube channel. So basically gonna play around. So let's get this ball on the road and welcome on the show. Hello. I'm gonna call you by your your online handle. Is it okay? Because dude, okay,
What?
I want to
My
know.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Iszuddin Ismail, welcome on the show. I'm not used to calling you by your real name, but so I call you
Oh,
Dino.
okay. Yeah. No
Yeah,
problem.
because
No problem. So maybe people
because
should also know, and also thank you for having me on the show. Me by Dino. Some people know me by Izude. It's fine. A lot of people know me by both. Some don't know that I'm also Izudin, where I'm also Dino. So either is fine.
I know both, but it's just used to. It's like Ikwan Nazri from Amans. I always call him Tekong, so I cannot tahan. So I see him Tekong. Oh,
Huh. All right. I think I lost my internet. Hold on.
okay, no problem. Yeah, you're fine now, actually.
Hey,
Oh,
sorry there for a while. I think I lost my internet. I'm back now on my mobile connection. I hope the 1 gig free from the government covers this.
it should be okay. It should be okay. Don't worry. Welcome. I we have a whole bunch of people. I think we have Celine, Vane, Odin, Raza Hamza, Kenneth, Eric Ju from Taiwan. I think.
Oh
Peter is
wow.
watching. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of people watching. Welcome on the show. Yeah, so we were like just basically before you got cut off, you were explaining that some people know you by Izzuddin, some people know you by Dino, some people know you by both. Yeah, like you went by Dino for quite a while, right? Actually.
Well, actually, that's my nickname from childhood. My
Mm-hmm.
mother calls me that. My grandmother calls me that. The family calls me that, and my friends all call me that. So whenever I go to school, my parents always introduce me as Dino. So yeah.
And it also became like your online nick because that's how I know you because I know you back. Dude, I want to say 15 years, 10 years. I don't know. It's like been a while actually.
Probably so. Yeah, I went by the handle Kidino,
Mm-hmm.
where Ki is my actual name. My full name is Khairil Izzuddin, so there's a K and an I bin Ismail. So uh, and I combined that together with my nickname from childhood. So I got Kidino because Dino is always so common when I try to register for any online services. Your username that has always been taken, so I go by Kidino for my handle. But these days, formally, informally, when I introduce myself as Izzuddin Ismail because
Uh-huh.
all my brothers are all Khairil also. So there's Khairil Izzuddin, Khairil Idham, and Khairil Izwan. Those are all my brothers. And among the family, sometimes you get a call dulu during the old days lah kan, you get those dial phones kan. When the
Yeah.
phone rings, nak cakap dengan Khairil. Khairil mana satu. So it's a lot easier if I just introduce myself as Izzuddin. So when somebody calls nak cakap dengan Izzuddin, that's me. It's no mistake.
it's the same. Oh my god, when you talk about dial phone, one of my close friend has the same Chinese name as me. So
Mm-hmm.
he will call my house calling his name. Then I was like, "Hi, may I speak to function?" And I was like, "No, I think you." But yeah, so that dates us quite a fair bit. And how you actually got started? Actually, you were doing a lot of internet marketing. I think your very first site that I know of you is Money Kickings.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that has been revamped and neglected for quite some time. Uh, how I got started, I think way long time ago. I was very intrigued into making money online. So that's how a lot of us got started. And what I read and what makes sense to me was when I started reading something to do with affiliate marketing.
Mhm.
And there was this, there's this program called Site Build It. It's a website builder
Yeah.
by, let me think, who's the name of the guy? He wrote this very comprehensive affiliate marketing book, and kind of like in online marketing in general, where it talks about the most important thing is about the content. You start to get the following and all those stuff. So it was a free book, and when you printed it out, I printed it out because it was kind of like my one of the first things that I read about online marketing. That was year 2000, 2001, more or less, and it was kind of like about this thick. Let me see, I can get my fingers. Yeah,
I know what you mean because I think I have a similar book, but I never print everything out, so I know what you mean.
yeah. So the program, I didn't really join the program, and I didn't really promote the program, but the content, even the free content about affiliate marketing was so good. So I got started trying to do affiliate marketing. Of course, I think moneyclicking.net could have been my second website. My first website was something called, I think after reading that book and after reading a bit about SEO and stuff during those days, there's before Google, there's Yahoo, and then there's Alta Vista, and then there's Lycos and all those. I built a site on computer cases.
Mhm.
You know, these days, even these days, people get into gaming and buy all those
Yeah.
bulky gaming computers with unique casings and whatnot. Back in year 2000, people are already really customizing their computer cases, grinding down the paint, repainting some graffiti arts or some. So I built a site around computer casing, and I forgot about it. And I think about 2 months or maybe 3 months after that, I start to recall that I did build a site about something like this, and I went and checked into the affiliate marketing program. That time I joined Commission Junction, CJ.com.
CJ.com.
So yeah, I remember logging in and seeing something around $13. 13, yeah, that was my first online income, online money. $13 from Commission Junction. And what's more exciting during that days, it was in USD. It was not ringgit Malaysia. It was online. This was the days before internet marketing, before online banking and all those stuff. Even the first internet banking that we had not too long after that was Abra Finance. Yeah, I remember getting an account from Abra Finance. Was it? Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was
Yeah,
Abra Finance.
oh my God, totally forgot about that. I think yeah, it's definitely Abra. Oh my God, you're bringing in memories because I still remember. I think I'm not sure was it my first or my very first internet income was actually through Google AdSense.
Oh
So
yeah, definitely, yeah.
yeah, and I remember receiving the check and I was like, oh my God, this is like
Oh,
mind blowing.
yeah. The thing about those receiving online income, internet income in USD those days is that what you earn today is something that you get paid a month after that,
Yeah,
and 14 days to receive the check, and then the 14 days before the check clears, and then they take a really huge cut from it. So
yeah.
that was how I got started, and then I got into email marketing, list building. I did a few info marketing projects. I did a few graphic templates related projects and stuff like that. So that's how I got started. But I think generally when people ask about what happened, uh, there was this time when it was the rise after MySpace, after Friendster, and it was in the early Facebook. I think people was really jumping to Facebook and really seeing that it's working. You get to connect with old friends and old school friends and whatnot. And I think during those days, I was so much into email marketing. Initially, I was into SEO and whatnot, right? Like getting your website ranked
Yeah.
on the search engine. And then I was into email marketing, where you build a list and start to nurture the list, share good tips and stuff. It's like blogging, but on email. So every now and then you send out an email, and sometimes you promote something. So I was making not, I didn't really grow rich from it, but I was making quite good enough for me, for myself. And but when Facebook came in and was taking everything by storm, I think I was not fast enough to adapt.
Mm.
And I do see that when I send out an email, send out a broadcast, I'm not getting the same kind of engagement and the same kind of response that I used to. So I don't quite recall when this was, but maybe around 2010 or 9 or something like that. So that's what happened to my previous online ventures. Uh, yeah, so then I got into freelancing. I got into then I worked into East Central. I was with East Central 7 years, and now I am not kind of like alone, but I'm back doing IT servicing. Currently I do programming, system development, mobile app development, this kind of stuff, and I
Mm.
also do IT training for government, and yeah, those kind of gigs. Yeah. So, any questions or some things that happened along the way?
That is actually quite it's actually quite wow actually to think about it, and it's also to look at how the internet marketing space has changed. But I think something
Right.
that always keep, like, you never actually build a startup that is like funded. You're always very indie, right? In terms of that, I know
Oh
you have
yeah.
partners, maybe you have you probably have like staff and so on, but you're always like a bit of a, so this is what we want to talk about solopreneurs, want to talk about indiepreneurs, how
Mm,
people help to get. And I think that is something very close to dear both of our heart eventually.
right. Right. Well, honestly, I can't say that I'm the know-it-all kind of guy. I try to do what I can, and when it comes to this topic, well, I can just share what I have, or what I know, what I've done in the past. So yeah, I think doing being indie and being indie, or doing something with what you have and keeping it small to some extent is I don't know what's the word. I don't want to say I'm passionate about it, but
It's close to our heart because
yeah, 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 yeah.
because we
I think.
started off as internet marketers in general, and
Mm-hmm,
internet
mm-hmm,
business is very we people used to do what they call JV joint,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
yeah,
mm-hmm.
but it was never like a long term partnership. It was just more like, let's do this project and let's do that, and
Right, right.
yeah, and,
I generally I can appreciate the people or the guys or even the small team that are self-starters, right? Self-starters. I think solopreneurs are guys like that, and I can appreciate the effort that they put into it, the passion that they put into it. And when I see something being built by a small team or an indie or a solo developer and seeing what they've built, I can appreciate all that they've done, and I would prefer to work with people like that, because generally when it comes to business or um, uh, I like it when people just start doing something with what they have. They look around at what they have. This is what I can do, and they start doing something now, rather than trying to wait and uh, try to gather all the resources. Right? They try to. I want to do something, but I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that, and before they even actually start something, I think in the older days when I was studying in the uni or in college, uh, you learn about business and you learn about business plans and whatnot. I
yeah.
may have had that kind of thinking, right? I think during my college days or my study days, uni days, I may have dreamt about building a business, and I put everything down on paper. and I'm going to need this, I'm going to need this, the office is going to cost this much, the rental is going to cost this much, I'm going to need three staff and stuff like that. But in actual fact, I think when you actually do a business, when you hustle, when you kind of an entrepreneur, you just get started with what you have.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes to an extent, it's not. You're just on survival mode. You want to get something running now. You may need to earn something now, and you just work with what you have. So yeah.
And let's say hi to a few people first. Reina from
Oh, right.
Japan. Yeah. The Miss Peter from Mr. Money TV just say hi. Hello, Peter.
Hello,
Michael
Peter.
Baca, I think you're from Canada. I think Susan, Eugene from Singapore, Danny, and Steph. Steph is from Hong Kong with Mind Valley, but I think she's based in Malaysia at the moment. So hi all. Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
Let's go into some examples actually. Let's go into some examples that we know are interesting solopreneurs. I think or solo indie projects. Like I think just now only you posted like a 20. Someone make 20K basically doing an open source
Oh,
project. Yeah.
yes, that was something that came through my timeline. I think it was shared by, I forgot his name. He's also kind of like an internet affiliate marketer doing SEO, doing online content and stuff like that. Lee or something. He shared that, and I followed through and see what it's like on the Twitter. So I don't even remember the guy's name, but uh, this guy he's a programmer because I'm a programmer myself, right? So I appreciate uh, uh, those who do side hustle, especially in the software scene.
Mhm.
So this guy built a theme for IDEs, for software, for text editors and stuff like that when doing programming, right? And he has always had it, but it has always been open source. Uh, so if I read the thread right, um, he started reading a book, trying to see what he can do, the project that he can build, and then he looked at what he had, and he said maybe this project he can start monetizing it. So it started off with what he already have, rather than starting a new project.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that is like something that people use that they already have, and then
Right.
they start leveraging. And usually, in terms of like solopreneurs and indiepreneurs, it's always actually like they are capitalizing on something they have and something they already have built. And sometimes it could be something of passion, just built for fun only. I think a lot of developers will just want to build something for fun, but
Correct.
that eventually could be a business. Is there any good examples from Malaysia that you know of?
Well, there are quite a number of examples. I like to gather a list of, sorry, a list of especially software entrepreneurs, right?
Mhm.
I know a guy. Last time there was this guy called Shamil MJ, who developed WordPress themes, and um, he sold it on the Theme Forest.
Yeah.
Actually, there are quite a number of Malaysians on Theme Forest doing quite well. He did that. I think later he joined iFlix and whatnot, and he's not really actively developing the theme. But he was one of the top authors when he was doing that. And there was him, and there's also, I know a guy who does another WordPress theme. Nama dia apa dia? From Terengganu, who is kind of like related to Shazza Hakim of the Stampede Design in Langkawi, the brother,
Okay.
I think. Lupa nama dia. I know a guy that previously, of course, one that I really looked up to even from last time was Jom Social. When we know about nobody who's on the internet from Malaysia,
Yeah.
there was the Jom Social. Even when you found out about Jom Social, you never thought it was a Malaysian company. Just like how you found out about RunCloud. But of course, I know RunCloud from the very beginning.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people who discovered RunCloud didn't know that it's actually a Malaysian company. So those, Jom Social, RunCloud.
Let's talk a bit about Zoom Social a bit.
Mhm.
I think people might not know this is a very totally different era, probably about 10 years back. And Zoom Social is basically a plugin that you install on this thing like WordPress is called Joomla, which turned Joomla into a social network. So you can actually build your own social network. And
Yes.
I do remember their office is somewhere near Damansara Perdana, I think back in the
No,
day.
no, no. It was in Mid Valley.
Oh yeah, so Mid Valley first. Then I think they eventually moved to Damansara Perdana. I can't remember because I remember going to meet up with Marisa and Aizat, like just to, sorry, Azrul, just to grab stuff actually.
Yeah, and also I also like when it comes to software entrepreneurs, right? And starting it small and making it big. There was also Aris Samad who built quick schools. Aris Samad with Azrain, who kind of like migrated over to Silicon Valley to build and market quick schools. I had this one time when I had the both of them doing kind of like a forum in Bangi, talking about software business. And I think when it comes, especially when it comes to software nowadays, because it's a lot easier to build a product and launch it online and launch it to the market, and not having to having to build enough capital or buy a server. Because previously, if you were to launch something like that, you want to buy a server is maybe $5,000 to $10,000
Yeah,
ringgit Malaysia, and maybe another 500 to 600 per month co-location for internet services on the data center. So that costs quite a lot nowadays. I mean, $5 plus minus maybe 25 ringgit, you can have a server,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Uh, your programming skills, there's a lot of tools. If especially when you are a programmer, right, and you know about all these other tools to help you save time and cut short your development time and start having it deployed on the market and start seeing the feedback. Things like Bootstrap or this Laravel framework. Previously, there was no framework and whatnot. There's a lot of frameworks. There's a lot of JavaScript framework. There's a lot of UI frameworks. There's a lot of backend frameworks, which all in all can cut short your development time and start deploying and start seeing how things work out. And hopefully, you can start seeing the first dollar rolling in.
There's a comment here. Azri Samad is my senior in computer club during school. Yeah,
Uh,
who is this? Let me check.
if I remember, Aris went to a prestigious school. So this guy too as well.
So, hi, welcome. I could not find your name because
Yeah,
some of the Facebook comment actually is like a different stream, so I might not be able to see it. If you can, Facebook user, please leave your name. I will say hi. Thank you very much.
uh, if I may also chip in, like drop in a story as well. There was also this guy before the Jom Social time. There was this guy who developed a web-based application. It was those time during the rise of web-based email. But there was Hotmail, and it was making news when Hotmail was being sold to Microsoft for 400 million or something like that, right? Dollars,
No. It was some weird amount. It was like
100 million.
100 million, I think. Yeah, it wasn't a lot. It don't sound a lot back in now, but
Yeah,
back then
it,
it was
it
crazy.
was really low. Yeah. So here in Malaysia, there was this guy who developed a web-based email using PHP, and he was selling it fully online and it's all over the world. He has users all over the world and operating it solo by himself in Malaysia. The software was, if I'm not mistaken, was called Socket Mail.
Oh, okay.
He, yeah, so it's no longer. I don't think it's no longer in operational. I still know the guy today. I think at one point in time he kind of like sold off the project, made quite a decent amount of money from there.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the cool, interesting thing that I learned about it later when I start to know him and I start to learn from him, discover about his stories was that he built everything in PHP. So there's the web-based part, the web-based email client. He even developed his own SMTP server to handle the email coming in, coming out,
Wow.
uh, using PHP. So among programmers, if you know how email servers work, and if you know how PHP work, that is kind of like a mind blowing thing to do. Yeah, and it was those times. It was PHP 4, PHP 3. I forgot. There's something during those days.
By the way, just a throwback. The Aris is from VI near Stadium Merdeka, Stadium Negara, Victoria
All right.
Institution.
So maybe I'm talking about another school that I went to. But anyway,
Yeah, it's so. What is your thought in terms of that? Because a lot of entrepreneurs will always come and say like, "Oh, I don't have business partner," and because a lot of investors would want to have like people who have business partners or at least in terms of that. But there are so many good solopreneurs and indiepreneurs out there, and what would be your advice to them?
oh, okay. Um, because I think I can only speak about this from one aspect because I'm a programmer myself. Uh, if you have programming skills, that would put you up one level. Because if you were to build a product, and a product normally is an online product, online software product, and if you have programming skills, uh, you have an advantage there. But then again, there are also stories of non-programmers who take up the skills,
Mhm.
go to coding school. I don't know, maybe take up a course on Udemy and start building their MVP from scratch from day one. Some took 90 days, some took a year to do it, but they still did it. There are stories of people who did it. But yet again, if you don't have that programming aptitude in you, right? You're not those kind of analytical or technical kind of guy who can uh, think you can really develop a product using programming skills. I guess you would still need to find a partner to some extent, right? To have it built. It's either you pay for it, or uh, you pay for it, or you would have to come to some kind of an agreement with the other guy. But of course, being said, that is not really an easy task to do.
It's
Yeah, I remember this story about one time I wrote an article about shares in a company versus being a CTO for a company. And in most cases, when it's a startup, right, and you are a CTO of the startup, generally you are the one building the product.
Mhm.
So it sounds nice and sexy. I'm CTO, right? Unless it's a funded startup, you are going to be building it yourself. You are
Yeah.
the one who actually builds the product. So there are stories about trading in your time for the shares, for ownership of some percent ownership of the company. But what I wrote in my article was this. I took example from my experience in East Central. There
Mhm.
was during those days when I started to lose, not doing really well in my online marketing business, and somehow or other, a friend of a friend of a friend introduced me to this guy who wanted to build eCentral. And fortunately enough, he has a bit of funds to get started. In my case, he engaged me or for contract work for 1 year. So we made up kind of like a 1 year contract. I will do freelancing for you for 1 year, and start building this and that for you. So after the 1 year almost expire, he started to see that there's potential to get an investor. And wanting me to come on board, he said, "I'm going to offer you this, which is salary, and then I will also give you some equity in the company." So I guess to some extent, I am lucky
Mhm.
to have that kind of offer and that kind of deal. And that partner, the guy who started East Central and kind of I become his partner and whatnot. Um, I'm also lucky in which he is kind of like an honest guy. He
Mhm.
never went back on his words or anything like that. But taking it all in, seeing what other people experience, I think if you are there's lessons to be learned as the CTO, as the programmer, and also as the business owner. I think generally, if you are the business owner and you want to start something, uh, whenever possible, you don't want to straight away just give away equity to your company, because you don't know how the other person is going to perform,
Mhm.
right? Whether it's going to be good, it's going to be bad, it's going to perform, it's going to deliver or not. So
Yeah.
you don't want to straight away give that deal, and if possible, you always want to pay upfront for his services, right? And as the CTO itself, if possible, you never try to do things for free, lah, kan?
Yeah. Definitely.
Right? Right. Even if you macam mana always because at that time, at point time, you are a freelancer. You need to
Mhm.
put food on the table, even if it's just for yourself. So even if you can afford it, I was always told, even by top CTO, even by a guy, do you know Arzumi, who is also he CTO. He's been CTO for quite a number of successful startups.
Hey,
iFlix,
I do
Bluebees,
the Faith. What
uh,
else? Yeah,
iFlix,
I fixed. Yeah,
and Bill Please.
yeah,
And one thing that he said to me was that even if you can afford it, not being paid to build something for other people, don't do it. Even if you can afford not to be paid, don't do it. Always ask for payment. But when the time comes, if you do bring in value, if they want, if things are being deployed and they are starting to get revenue and they're starting to get investors, especially, you can always renegotiate the terms, right?
yeah.
If you want to go forward with the project or you want to leave or whatnot. Uh, yeah, I guess if you ask me, that would be my opinion from the business aspect and also from the programmer aspect.
Yeah,
But
it's
I can understand where some people can't really afford it. If you hear stories about how Run Cloud started, they kind of like went a different route.
yeah, there is actually a lot of things, and but also you also now. I mean, one of the things that I know you're passionate about software development, and but a lot of people here might not be too familiar with that. And what would we be advise? Like, should they learn? Should they actually learn programming? Okay, my advice is usually yes, but what do you think?
To learn programming, if uh, well, if you've never tried it before, give it a shot.
Okay.
Right? You never know that it may be something that you may like doing.
Mhm.
Right? If you've never done it before, give it a shot and see what you can build. And maybe if in 3 months it's doesn't suit you, you need to rethink your options. Then do. Yeah, I think I, to some extent, I think you can only do so much, right? If you've been grinding and grinding and grinding, it doesn't give you the result that you want. Uh, it may be time to rethink your options, your decision, your past decision as well. So I think if about learning programming, if you want to start something, you have an idea, you've never done programming, and you are thinking about learning programming to build your product, give it a shot. Give it a shot. It may be something that you like doing, even if you did if you turn out to be good and you didn't really build your product, it is a new skill that you acquired that you can start to offer services for. It may be extra income for in that manner. So I don't know.
I always like to. I think Azumi is the one that told me that know enough to be dangerous. So
No
even
enough.
no, so even if you do not know how to build your own stuff at the end of the day, like you don't end up building your own product, but you know enough to communicate with your software.
Right,
Yeah, like you are
right,
that also when you know someone is like quoting something to you, like say, oh,
right,
this will take this. This is how much. This is how you have a better idea to communicate with them. It's just to that's why I usually would suggest people to at least learn
right,
some form of software
right,
development. Yeah.
right,
So,
right.
so you know when they tell you, oh yeah, we are building this thing using we're building this thing
Big
using
data lah, crypto lah, cloud hosting lah.
yeah, yeah,
At least you know what they are talking about, and
yeah,
they can stop bullshitting you around.
yeah. So then you also know like, oh, actually it takes so long to build this thing, and then you appreciate
Right,
it more. Yeah,
right.
yeah. That's I can't remember who told me the advice, but I really think it was Azumi back in the day.
Probably
So
so.
So if then there is also, I mean, going back to your internet marketing days, there's also so
Mhm.
many people who are pushing like affiliate marketing now. Now the hot thing is like drop shipping or drop shipping, drop shipping with services like
E-commerce.
e-commerce. Yeah, what are your thoughts about that? Because it's never been easier to do that. Like it's so much easy to do start your own shop now. Like we have a partner shop line that is offering like 6 months free. They are like Shopify like that, but they build your e-commerce site, so it's 6 months for free, and then I think after that it's like 48 ringgit per month. So you don't even need to learn how to customize the e-commerce store. You just
Okay.
send them the product and they build it. Like it's so much easy. Like, what are your thoughts about those?
Huh. Well, with anything online, with anything when it comes to business and marketplace and the market, right? There's always this concept of one. There's shovel sellers. Do you know about the concept of shovel sellers?
No, no, no. You can. You mean the like the Gold Rush selling
Yes,
shovel?
I'm doing the Boras area. So there's always the concept of shovel sellers in any industry or any market, right? Right. So in which they are important. It's not that they are not important, but one that's one way of making money, and second is actually doing it. When it comes to the e-commerce and dropship, honestly, I've never really done that. I've done a bit of eBay for about 1 month or so, in which I did make money, and but I for me it was too time consuming to list, to write, and then to monitor, and then to pack, and then to deliver. Right? So it was too much of a logistic work for me.
Mhm.
So I didn't end up doing it. But nowadays, I do know people are doing drop shipping. I mean, in the States, right? Um, People left and right, they are all teaching e-commerce, especially by building a Shopify site
Yeah.
and sourcing it from AliExpress. You get an order, you turn around, you buy it in AliExpress. You get an order, you turn around, you buy it in AliExpress. So people are really actually teaching that. And in fact, I went to a conference recently, late last year. There was this one guy who went from 0 to 20 million in sales in about 3 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Wow, yeah, and of course, when he shared his presentation, of course, initially you started out with there are times when he sourced the product and kept it himself. There are also times when he drop ship, right? But I think the most important thing when he shared about his presentation is not about the how sexy it is to make money online and stuff like that. He shared about the most crucial basic things. For example, he shared about what he called pillars, right? The pillars in his e-commerce business, and one of the things he talked about is one, customer support. Always have good customer support round the clock, 24 hours. If you have to like have it shifts, right, and do it in that way, and always maintain good reputation in all the review sites. Like over there, they have the Better Business Bureau. Always respond to that. Don't like neglect all the complaints and whatnot. Some would say like the Better Business Bureau is negligible, but yet again they are the one who can notify the local authorities in your state, in the states lah. This is talking about on the state. So when he started doing his presentation, talking about all that, it's interesting to see that the most important things are not the sexiest things. It's all the core basic foundation back again. And one of the things he said he had was when he built a store, he built it good. That really looks like a really well done store, a well done shop with all the branding, good branding, and every time he can, all the products comes with good packaging, with its own branding and stuff like that. So I think in e-commerce, things are getting back to the question when I think about all this. There's opportunity to make money there, but I think just with anything else, if you really invest yourself into it, build a solid business and not just a way of making money online, you can really scale your business just like this guy did. Of course, that $20 million sales doesn't come from one store. What he does now is because he has this team of people, and one interesting thing is that he doesn't hire directly. All his hires are all remote using Upwork.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, because if he needs to fire, then fire, right? So
The ultimate workforce on demand, man. That's
right,
like,
but yet again, he did tell the story about how he actually invested his time into teaching the people that he brought into the team. For example, his first hire was this person from Philippines that does the customer support for him, and he really spent almost 2-3 hours per day for the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, for the first month, teaching this guy how to respond, how to write emails, how to do this, how to do that. So I think he has a benchmark of like 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. If still doesn't perform and cannot perform things that they want the new guy to do, then he would have to tell him the bad news lah. Yeah, that was some of the things he shared. If you guys want to look him up, his name is Kevin Zhang.
Kevin, how to spell the last name?
Kevin, Kevin, Zhang. Kevin Zhang.
Kevin Zhang. Okay, I will check him out.
I think he has a Facebook page or Facebook group called E-Generation or something like that,
Okay.
which talks about all this e-commerce stuff. La 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 la.
Yeah, there's actually there's that again. There's people who actually do the work. There's also shovel sellers. Yeah, there's always very good to actually look at some of these people who are so passionate about sharing about their stuff, and they eventually have like courses, but a lot of the times that the amount of stuff that they give out for free is like so much worth it also.
Yeah. You do really have to like pick and choose. Some are crap though.
Majority of them are, I have to say. That's why I find it very. I don't really recommend a lot of them.
Right.
But once in a while, you find some people who's like, oh my god, these guys are like
Genuine stuff, right?
yeah, genuine stuff, like, and I understand where they are coming from. They have to charge, but even if you consume enough of their free content, it's already so good in terms of that.
Right. I think I have respect for people who build an actual good business, and not just selling how to make money online, right? You get what I mean?
No, I totally. I don't. Again, shovel sellers. Like that's the thing. There's always a whole bunch of traders. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
In my definition of shovel sellers, some become really good shovel sellers. I mean, when it comes to e-commerce, I would consider for you to be able to do e-commerce, you need to build a store, and some provide you the tools to build a store. So I would consider like WooCommerce and Shopify. Those are shovel sellers as well, but they do it so well, in which they really serve the community that they serve, right?
Yeah.
Because you cannot do e-commerce without an e-commerce site. Yeah, but some would just repackage something. I mean, you can build. I can build a WooCommerce multi-site and put in plugin here and there, and I can start I can start selling to people on an e-commerce site solution, right? It would maybe take me like a week, 2 weeks to build and start selling that. So those are the type of shovel sellers that I don't really respect, right? When you find something, turn around, white label, just rebrand things, and where you don't really put enough effort in customer support, you don't put enough effort in R&D, in maybe educating your customers and stuff like that, where you just turn around and try to make a quick buck. So those are the some shovel sellers that I would consider you would want to avoid.
Yeah. Any tips to look out for this kind of people? Like I think both of us have seen enough gurus over the years to see a bit like we can identify it a bit. But yeah, like how would you advise like someone who is yeah.
Well, not specifically on how to avoid this kind of guys though. When it comes to investing your money into something, right? There are always people who would come to you and try and start offering you a shortcut into it. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, you just buy this, you're going to get your e-commerce site built up and stocks ready and marketing enough and stuff like that, right? So there are always going to be people like that. Or maybe you want to invest into gold, and this guy come to you with a scheme. There's this plan on we will invest your money into gold, or maybe You can invest your money into property. For example, I'm pulling money so that I can buy all these houses and we can turn them into Airbnb and stuff like that. There are always people who will try and sell you a scheme,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whether it's property, whether it's investment, whether it's agricultural, even a scheme where we will invest your money into agro, or we'll invest your money into this. I would say when you come across any one of that, if you really want to get into property investment, for example, go and learn it yourself, right? And then, or if you want to get started into doing e-commerce, go really seek out good information. You can start out with books on with simple books that you find on Amazon or at the store or whatnot, and start to understand what e-commerce is. And then when you start to encounter other information that would validate, and you start to understand which is good, which is not, rather than putting up front 5,000 ringgit, 10,000 ringgit here and there. Because by the end of the day, if things goes wrong, you're gonna blame that other guy,
Yeah.
right? You're gonna blame, and I lost $10,000 with this guy, again $20,000 with this guy. The best part is, I think what you should do is, if you really want to get invested into it, then you learn it yourself, invest in the learning, and then do it yourself. If you have some money put aside to do it, and uh, if things go well or things don't go well, you only have yourself to blame, right? So instead of being heartbroken and being pity and being sour about everything and blaming everybody else.
Yeah. I want to just do a quick plug also, just basically. Sharissa Abdullah is watching actually. Hi.
Oh,
Hello.
hello.
Vivian, Eileen, thanks for watching. Yeah, so one of my favorite resources and author, I think you also mentioned Chris Gillibo. So we are having
Uh-huh.
him. We're having him this Friday. So we are actually have this free webinar. Not he's not going to sell anything. We're giving a free book. It's actually already sold out, but I think we're going to try to rearrange a bit of the thing. So if you register, you stand a chance to win his latest book. It's called Money Tree.
Mhm.
Yeah, but if not, we'll try to find a way to actually stream it to the rest of the audience. So yeah, Chris has agreed to come on at 9 p.m. This Friday in Malaysia time. Yeah, so it'll be great to actually have him. We have a few more people that actually. I mean, these are like to me, these are the guys that are doers. So if you do not know who he is, check out his podcast. It's called Side Hustle School. Essentially, he's been doing this since 2-3 years back, almost every day. Sorry, not almost every day. Every day he has an episode, and it has like 2 million download per month. So do check out Chris Gillibo. In case you do not know how to spell his name, I know it's a really weird name.
Gullible.
Yeah, you met. Sorry, you read one of his book earlier, right?
Yeah, actually, one of his earliest book was $100 Startups.
Mhm.
So if you are intrigued about Chris Gullibo, and you want to learn about what he does and the type of content that he produces out there, there's this book that went out before the current book. I think he has two books after that. There's Side Hustle, and then there's this Money Tree.
He does. Side Hustle
Yeah,
School, Money Tree, Find Your Born to Be Different, or something like that. There's like 6 books actually, if I'm not mistaken.
the first one I read was I think 2-3 years back. It's called $100 Startups, and
Yeah.
he tells the stories of other entrepreneurs. He gathers a number of entrepreneurs, interviewed them, and tell their stories in that book. There are stories about generally when you said 100 startups and going on into his podcast, whatnot. Those are the people who did side hustles. Side hustles. It started out small, started out with what you know, started out with what you have. Starting out a project, starting out a business, and some grow into a full-time gig, right? Some become a full-time business. Some where it has grown into where they have to hire more people, but some are still running it as a side business on top of their current work, which is fine anywhere you go, right? Some people are built to build big businesses and manage stuff. But some can only do that much, in which it is good for you, whatever way you go. If I'm sure the Money Tree is going to be is a really good book. I haven't got it, but $100 startup is quite amazing, quite an eye opener for me into Chris himself. So yeah, I think if you got this guy on a webinar, this is uh, this is great, man. This is great.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to this one.
I'm so excited about this one. So quite excited to actually get him on. Maverick Fu and I will be interviewing him. If you have any question, feel free to just drop it over, and we will try to get Chris to answer it, and then get him. I hopefully will get a you can win a copy of the book actually.
Right, right. Well, even if you don't, it doesn't really cost that much.
It's a free webinar. There's no
Right.
backend sale. There's nothing out there. It's just
I
like
would recommend if for those who are going to the webinar, who's going to be listening to the webinar, if you can grab one of his books, right, read it through, and then you would start to have a sense of what it's like, the content that he shares, and maybe you can ask better questions.
yeah. I mean, it's generally a lot of the things that he writes is about being an indiepreneur and being a
Right, right,
solopreneur. Yeah,
right.
yeah. So that's why I thought I just bring it up just because like this in the spirit,
Spot on.
yeah, in the spirit of this thing, and if like $100 startup is like what 400 plus US 400 plus ringgit. So
Right.
and to build a business with that is like I mean you can build it a lot cheaper. I understand that, but yeah, that like use that as a
I
challenge. That's
think
a challenge.
if you are starting a business and you're not even willing to commit to that, right? Invest into that. It doesn't have to be one shot. It really, really doesn't have that much, right? It doesn't have to be one shot, but at least I think that is the minimal investment that it should be. So, oh yeah, talking about that as well. I think one thing I want to share, which is I think rather important, is that when even being a solopreneur, even though being a freelancer, I think it's important to get all your papers in order,
Mhm.
right? If register your SSM. Now,
Yes.
if you can afford it, because nowadays you can register a Siaran Berhad with one guy, doesn't have to be two directors. Previously, it has to be two directors. Now, with the apa Akta Syarikat 2019 ke 2018 something like that, you can have one director. If you can afford it, do a Siaran Berhad. If you cannot, you can SSM Enterprise is good enough. And whatever you make, whether you make the minimum requirement for to pay tax or not, always fill in every year. Fill in your tax return, right? So those are things that would help you put your life in order. Because if those things come to you all in one time after like 7 years never filing, that's gonna be a big headache. So sometimes when you run a business, you don't make enough money, you don't make much money, kan? Just report it. I don't make enough money, and I'm not paying this tax this year, so don't pay lah.
Yeah.
But don't miss the filing lah.
Yeah, that's actually really good advice because a lot of especially people who actually make foreign derived income, uh,
Mm-hmm.
like foreign derived income, so you can actually argue because technically it's not taxable. So
Well, I think what I understand is this: whatever you make is taxable.
no, so it depends how you argue it. It's like because it's the work done in Malaysia. Is the work done in Malaysia? Yeah, taxable.
Yeah, and to some extent, this if you really want to go into it, first, I'm not don't quote me on any of this. This is just like a personal opinion or whatnot, right? If you really want to get into this, go find a tax lawyer or whatnot. But apa ni some country to country they have this tax treaty. So if you are paying tax over there, you don't have whatever you bring home, you don't have to pay tax anymore. But if not paying tax, but from what I know, we don't have something like that with the United States. But nowadays United States, when you earn in USD, they still um, withheld tax, right? They have something like that. So whatever you make, you don't get it all immediately. They withheld some amount. Whatever. Generally, I think whatever you bring back, you pay tax lah.
True enough.
Yeah. I think when it comes to this question here, I see this question about whether it's so proprietary or Siaran. So, if you're good enough with so proprietary, that's good enough. No issues. I mean, people worry about because when it's a sole proprietor kan, sole proprietor atau milikkan tunggal,
Yeah.
You are liable for everything. Kan, you yourself is liable for all the debt kan. But when you are a freelance, and in most cases when you are a solopreneur lah kan, you don't incur much debt pun kan. You're not qualified to go and get a loan for your business. So I would say sole proprietor is fine. Sole proprietor is fine. So unless when you start to hire people kan, if you are starting to pay for EPF and SOCSO for 5-10 people, then maybe you want to reconsider, because sometimes when you are making a huge enough amount of revenue for your business, I think Sdn Bhd has a more flexible way of reporting your tax and making it good for you, as opposed to a sole proprietor lah. Right? I don't know what's the breakdown or what's the threshold to that. You may want to consult your auditor ke apa.
Yeah, you should. But that's a good question actually. And I think
but if you were starting out, I just wanna I'm freelancing. I'm starting to build website for people. Sole proprietor enough lah. Good enough. Oh yeah, get a bank account as well for that business registration.
Yeah, that's actually very important, because a lot of companies might not want to deal with you if you just do your own personal bank accounts. Like not all companies, but there are bigger companies that is always going to be an issue. So getting a sole proprietorship is good enough to get a bank account. And Hun Cheng, thanks a lot for that question. Really appreciate it. I think I want to, before we let you off, I want to ask you about a part of your life that you've been involved in, that is NEF, at least for the past couple of years. Can you share a bit like what NEF is about for the folks that are not familiar with, and how can they get involved?
Okay, thank you for that question, because it's hard to really plug about that myself. But anyway, NEF is the long name is Persatuan Usahawan dan Industri Bumiputera Malaysia, short NEF. So back in the days before my time, and before previously, and in NEF there was Ashran Ghazi, who was also the CEO of Magic at one point in time. And before his time, there was people like all these Sekali guys, right? Sekali, Tengku Faris, and Mirzan, and they were all into IT business. So they would. There was also Rita Kamal, Coach Rick. They would gather and talk among themselves about the IT business, and they would go to Starbucks, right? So, and they call themselves New Entrepreneurs Forum. And things got serious. They are gathering more people, and when Ashran took over, he formally registered it as a Persatuan lah, with the ROS, Register of Society. So that's how, when you register, then you have to follow the naming convention. Persatuan apa? Persatuan Usahawan. Usahawan apa? Usahawan ICT. Ini semua ke Bumiputera sahaja? Selangor ke Malaysia? So that's how we got the name, Persatuan Usahawan dan Industri ICT Bumiputera Malaysia. Kurungan NEF. They allow us to keep the NEF in bracket. So that's NEF. It's a persatuan. Every now and then, every 2 years, we do an election. So last year, we had an election. I became president. But because it's a 2-year term, the next election is next year lah. We should have an AGM this year, even though no election, but still an AGM to report our activities and our financials and all those stuff. Tapi but due to the PKP, the MCO, we haven't done yet, and fortunately the RS allowed it. Sorry about that. I heard oh, never mind. So that's NEF. What we do activities relating to entrepreneurship, right? Even though the name of the Persatuan is Persatuan Usahawan dan Industri Bumiputera Malaysia, but our activities are always been open, right? It's just that membership has to be Bumiputera lah, but our activities are always open. AGM also cannot lah, kan? You can come, but you cannot vote lah. So that's NEF. How I got into NEF actually was this through when we had our first JOMWEB, right? Not JOMWEB, JOMLAUNCH. So I kind of like run this group called JOMWEB. JOMWEB is a group of programmers. We have a Facebook group on Facebook, yeah, and currently there's about 25,000 people, from students lah, seasoned experts lah, semua pun ada. So in the early days when Magic was launched, and at that same year we did the first JOM launch. It was not by me, it was by this guy called Nazrul of training.my. He does ICT training and whatnot, of Serai training. So he did that JOM launch, but when he did the JOM launch, suddenly he pushed me up and you become MC. So I became MC. And even before that, I've been sharing about promoting about JOM launch and whatnot. We're trying to get people to come, trying to get people to submit projects. And when we did JOM launch, little did I know that one of the audience in the event was Ashran. So long story short, we had a talk. Somehow or other, I do feel I was like recruited into NEF. So I became NEF member, and then I become a council member. During my time, I was a member when Ashran was president, and then Liliana was president, and then Rashdan was president. Liliana of my nephew, she started the ASEAN Rice Bowl Award.
Yep.
Latif. And then Rashdan is the guy who did that Super Squad animation for RTM.
Yeah.
And then I became president. But of course, along the way, fortunately, we got some really, really great guys into the Persatuan, kan? Like Nadir is our vice president one. Yunus from Evanescence. Nadir from the Lorry. Yunus from from Evanescence is a seasoned member. He's a vice president too. Other members in the council is like Arif Tukiman of Run Cloud, Izairi Amin of Zepto Express, Nasir of Jom Parking, who else? Aizah of Medcat, Amir Haris of DNS Cloud, DNS Vox. At one point in time, we also had siapa ni, Fukaha of Katsana. He's still a member but no longer a council member.
Yeah.
So those are the things. Those are the guys in the Persatuan, and sometimes everybody is busy doing their own stuff, but whenever we can, we try to help out with the ICT businesses lah. But generally, when looking at what NEF was and what NEF is, there has been a transition in how previously the members are like servicing companies, IT vendors, or system integrators. Right, but nowadays a lot of members are product creators, like Kansana, Jom Parking, the Lorry, startups with their own product, their own IP, and their own brand. Yeah. So that's about NEF.
So if you're interested, where can people actually go to find out about NEF?
You can go to nefmalaysia.org.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Dino, for actually staying with us for an hour, and and thanks for everyone who's watching. Any final advice for the entrepreneurs and also for people who are watching in the future?
Much of it has been said.
We hope to get you on again soon. Really.
Yeah, thank you. But anyway, thank you for having me. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it so much. I think this has been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun, and it's good to see you soon. Actually, after MCO.
Yeah, right. After MCO.
After MCO, we have to go for our teh tarik again.
Right, definitely.
All right. Thanks a lot. I'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye.
All right.